Hi, it's me again with the hat. I wear the hat for all my adventures. I decided to volunteer at our local mass vaccine site. Now, that may come as a surprise to some of you who know about my history of needle phobia. In the past, I may have barfed or fainted, both, a couple of times, or maybe some more. But these days, I kind of sort of have my needle phobia under control. But I thought it'd be a good way to get rid of any lingering residual needle phobia, and there were also some reasons to volunteer that might be a little bit nobler. Personally, I rely upon the work of the insightful and copyrighted Larson. Exposure. Exposure is how I chose to deal with my phobia. Now I realize that some of you may poo-poo the psychological street cred of Larson, but I would just like to point out that he and his work have been the topic of psychological conference workshops. Really, that's really true. Besides getting over my needle phobia, I wanted to do my small part to help kick COVID's butt. I was filled with zeal. Fair amount of zeal. Some zeal. You know, you really don't want to go overboard in the zeal department. I carefully looked at all the job descriptions that I could volunteer for. Wayfaring sounded good. It sounded very adventure-y, but the problem was I didn't know my way around the site. So I finally decided on vaccination data entry. That sounded like paperwork to me. I've been doing paperwork for years. Paperwork's no problem. Besides, paperwork was probably taking place far, far away from all of the needle action. Boy, was I wrong. Naturally, there was a lot of paperwork about how to do the paperwork. I had a 6-page job aid and a 15-page job aid. What if they contradicted each other? No problem. It's just like poker. 15 pages always beat 6 pages. Everyone knows that. There was another 6 pages on how to be a good volunteer and another 5-page aid on how to deal with people. And I mean all kinds of people. Crazy person who only speaks an obscure language shows up wearing a pirate hat with a peg leg and a service animal iguana on their shoulder. No problem. After reading that last 5 pages, I was good to go. In theory. I'm not quite sure how that would work out. Of course I practiced. They're going to get a shot right in front of me. I'm going to see a needle go in an arm. My entire shift. I got to practice this. Dear, are you busy right now?
Do I have to tell the truth?
Just pretend you're a patient getting a shot. What is your phone number?
Wait just a second.
Do not roll eyes. Do not roll eyes. Would you like your shot in your left arm or your right arm?
This one.
That's your
You need
right arm. That's your right arm. Is that your right arm?
No.
I'm going to barf. There's something here on dealing with difficult people.
I'm not difficult.
All right. It turns out that working with my, how does she want to be referred to again? Very patient wife was excellent preparation for dealing with the public. I was okay. will not barf. I will not faint. I will not barf. I will not faint. I will not barf. I will not faint. I'd packed a half-dozen barf bags just in case. The problem is you pull out and use a barf bag right in front of a patient. It may impact the perceived quality of care. My official symbol of authority was this pink lanyard. Everyone who does vaccination data entry gets a pink lanyard. There could be a little latent sexism at play. The data entry people were the only people who were given the super secret password of the day. If I told anyone the super secret password, my pink lanyard would be taken away from me. I would be thrown out of the vaccination data entry corps, and I would be marched out of the site past the stations of my fellow data entry comrades, who I think would all hit the delete key on their computers as I went past. You don't want that. Normally I like to shoot these videos with reasonable camera and sound gear. But when it comes to medical things like getting a vaccine shot, the government's got all these picky laws and rules, and I've made it this far without becoming a felon, and I'd like to keep the streak going. So I just took my phone down to the site. I live in a part of the country that got hit, and hit hard by COVID, before most of the country. A year ago, this site was a military field hospital. Now we're gearing up to give thousands of vaccine shots a day here. Progress. Through sheer random bad luck, I ended up at station number 13, lucky 13, on the complex patient lane. As I stood there holding my number 13 placard and waving it in the air, I got the distinct impression my station may have been subject to some numerical discrimination. I saw a lot of patients walk down the lane, look right at that number 13, get a look on their face like, no way, and keep right on going. The software was a little glitchy on opening day. The user interface wasn't really designed for people like me, idiots who had never used the software live before. Now, in the software designer's defense, it's really hard to outsmart idiots. We're just too resourceful. Oh yeah. All the local politicians and news people were there for opening day. They all set up nearby where I was working, and I thought I managed to stay out of all of their shots, but nope. Here's a screen grab from one of the local TV stations' copyrighted broadcast. That red thing in front of me is a big bucket of needles. Technically, its name is a sharps container, but I just called it the Beast. Early on, I looked into the belly of the beast. Do you want to see what was in there? Brace yourself. There it is. The horror. The horror. Generally, they were fine and appreciative. Some of them were a little freaked out. Turns out I'm not the only person who doesn't like needles. There was one woman who was just in awe of how many people she was around. She hadn't been around that many people in a year. I think she was looking forward to it becoming a little more routine. Where I live, I'm old enough to get a shot. Of course I got a shot. I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. I will not barf. I will not barf. I will not barf. I will not barf. That is not making it into the final video.